to have you all here. My name is Jörn Jacobi. I'm the project coordinator of the SESAR 2020 project which is called Remote Tower for Multiple Airports. And my question to you is, multiple remote tower, is it bane or boon? And with this talk, this presentation, I'd like to give you some objective data that you can yourself answer this question in the end. So it's not that I'd like to convince you, of my idea, but feel free to decide yourself. I don't know who's familiar with remote tower or with multiple, even with multiple remote tower, but it's not a new concept. So remote tower is already implementing. The idea is existing for years, and multiple in the end is a natural progression of remote tower because it delivers you a lot of opportunities. And therefore, in 2010 already, we started to deal with multiple things. Also in SESAR 1, there was project 693 and 684, which dealt with remote towers. So it's not new. Also, what is new with our project now? That's it, yeah. That we are more questioning design question or operational procedure question in terms of operational feasibility. Is it a safe concept? And is it feasible in the end? And the second solution, the solution 3, deals with the flexible allocation of airports. Because if you have a multiple setting and a huge remote tower center with a huge pool of controllers, you can much better balance workload in between of controller and task load in terms of how many airports, how many traffic loads. So you can much better balance this. The same as you do today in a traditional tower. So you have a different staffing in peak hours than in night shifts. But with this multiple remote setting, you're even more flexible. And I like to provide you with some data and about some setting, what we did. So there are different phases. I don't know if you're familiar with this maturity phases. So there is a reach search maturity phase, V3. If you reach or pass this, then it goes to industrialization. So at the moment we are in a V2 passing phase and in a V3 validation phase. And by end of this year, hopefully this will be passed. And then it's great for industrialization, hopefully. So, one slide back, I just wanted to highlight that there are several validations, there's several ANSPs. It's not only what we operated with Hungro Control and Ora Navigatio, Lithuanian ANSPs, but there are other platforms where they're dealing with other ANSPs, so there are opinions of different ANSPs and also different industrialization solutions. What I'm referring to in this talk is the validation we did in Braunschweig. Once with the related to the remote tower module, the blue box, and the whatever color it is, the lower box, with the flexible allocation of airports. And this was our setting. You see one controller sitting there in front of a remote tower module, and you see all is threefold. So the panorama is threefold, the approach radars are threefold, the electronic flight strips, not really visible here, but also threefold. Also the frequency is threefold. So he talks to all three airports at the same time, so the other airports or traffic at the other airports can listen to him, which has the advantage that they know when he's busy, that they do not block each other. So it's the same as today when a controller is responsible for more than one-way. And the controllers even today, they have initial call, when they call in Budapest Tower, this is Lufthansa 123, request landing, something like that. So there is the tower name is already in there, but even with this procedure today, you would always refer to the tower you're addressing it. And also the controller is able to see which airport is talking in, because there is some highlighting of this panorama and also the flight bay. So this worked quite well. It's a simulation because a lot of questions related to operational feasibility can better be answered in simulation instead of field trials. As we were in a V3 mode, the objective of a retrieve phase is that you have it mirrored quite realistic. So this is the Hungarian concept. So they have already a remote tower installation in Budapest, which they use it for operations, for contingency operations. And the next natural progression would be to use this tower for handling also other remote towers, and also perhaps later in a multiple setting. So they really mirrored their concept they have in the simulations, and they had the real controllers there proving the operational feasibility. So in the upper layer you have Budapest, one runway of Budapest, then you have a military airport. There were also military controllers testing this concept, and the lower level is Debrecen, the second largest airport in Budapest. And what they are also interested in, not only in normal operations, so they really pushed their controllers to degraded mode situations, to emergency situations, so really challenging situations to see where's the limit of this concept. And sure, mid-run and also post-run, we assessed a lot of data to judge about in the end. And what is the most critical thing is safety. So the concept must be safe. If it's not safe, then it's a deadlock situation. So safety is the first thing that has to be checked. And what we did is we asked the controller afterwards, remind the most critical situation and then assess yourself, how did you deal with it? Could you solve the critical situation without impairment at all? So it's 1, 2, 3. Or did you had to defer some traffic, so on the cost of capacity? Then they could answer between 4 or 6. Or think about, was safety compromised? And if yes, there are different categories where they could judge about was safety compromised. And in 35 runs, that's really the best result. There was never safety compromised. That's only from the last simulation. We had 4 simulations with in total 30 controllers and over 130 test runs, and safety was never compromised. But that's the best result you can get. That tells you, okay, go on. The system cannot be so wrong, so it can be operated on a safe side. And what we also investigated is this splitting and merging procedure. I referred to it in the beginning. Because if you are in a remote tower center, you have a pool of controllers and you have different task load complexity over the day. And you can much better adapt the task load to the controller's workload. So there are situations where the controller himself says, okay, supervisor, I feel a lot of overloaded now, I would like to give away 1 airport or 2 airports. Or he's saying, stop, I have an emergency, I just wanted to focus on the airport where's the emergency, I like to hand over 2 other airports to a spare position. Yeah? And this looks like this in the picture. We have 2 remote tower modules. On the right hand side you can see the controllers dealing with 2 airports. The left hand controller just handed over to him because he performs an emergency scenario at the middle airport. And we also asked him his handover procedure. So we provided a checklist where all these things that have to be communicated in between are on there. So which traffic is on the frequency, which clearances has been given, what is the equipment status, what's the weather status, and they checked the checklist and said, okay, yeah, that's the same as we do today. Because even today they hand over. They have shift breaks, the controller standing behind the active controller, tries to get into the picture, and if you get the picture, he said, okay, I'm fine now, then you have the shift break. So it's the same as you do today. So then you hand over the airports, and then we measure the workload over the time. So it's a quite complex picture, I know, so you need some time to get in there. And what you can see is three graphs. So there's a baseline graph. In this baseline conditions, the controller did not have the opportunity to give the other 2 airports away. So he solved the emergency. You see the emergency box at this time was the emergency. So the workload increases in this emergency, of course. But at this time he applies backup procedures. He even applies today. So a controller is a well-educated human being, especially educated for these purposes, so he can prioritize tasks. He can put less critical things aside, and he just focus on the most critical things, and he can do multiple things. That's why he's educated for. So even if he is responsible for all the 3 airports, he could handle the emergency case. So that's the first really good result. But of course, workload increases. So if you like to avoid this workload increase, you have the possibility to give 2 airports away. So this is the split condition. So the graph in the middle is the graph of the controllers handling only the emergency airport. So you see the workload is much lower than the baseline graph. And you see also the guy dealing with the 2 other airports without emergency. So even if he controls 2 airports, the workload is lower than the one with the emergency. Also a traceable result. And another graph, so it's quite similar. We had a scenario where there was an overload situation. So the traffic was so much increasing that either the controller said by himself, I want to give 1 airport away, or the supervisors let him know, okay, in the next minutes there is an intensive workload period, so better to give 1 airport away. So the same result here. So when he can give 1 airport away, workload decreases, so much better balance. But look to the controller who gets 1 airport with very less traffic, only 25%, which were 5 movements an hour. So it's a very poor guy. He is totally underutilized. There's nearly no traffic. And this has several problems. The human being is not a good monitorer, so he slaps in. An ATCO is a well-educated professional worker, so he's especially selected for doing multiple things and not for doing nothing. So even if it's quite costly in the end in ATCO operating. So this is the situation today. You have airports where he's fully underutilized. And the most critical thing is that it's safety risk. He has nothing to do and he's not in the picture anymore. And strange things happen even with low traffic. There might be 2 aircraft and he's not prepared, and mistakes happen. So this can also must not be forgotten that we have this situation today, and you can much better balance workloads. So controllers are artists in the end. They want to handle critical situations, and they are prepared for this. And we had a lot of open days where we introduced our results to the audience, like we do it today. We had controllers there in the simulation, then they have a very good feeling of this concept, and also we, after a lot of debriefing sessions, have a very good feeling about what is possible and what not. And we believe in this concept now. And also the controllers who dealt with it believe in the concept. But there are still controllers who never had been in contact, and they have their question. There are a lot of myth they always tell us, and one of these things is an ATCO is not able to work multiple. You say, stop, he does even today multiple, and he is specially selected and educated for doing this. So today he has one on a final giving landing clearance, he has a conditional lineup clearance, he has an aircraft taxiing out, he has 2 aircraft waiting at the runway for crossing, he has a departure clearance request, and so on. So even today he does multiple things, and he can prioritize things. There are controllers who are responsible for more than 1 runway, especially when they're dependent. You cannot coordinate, you have not time to coordinate with another controller. San Francisco, my favorite example, there are 4 runways, and they are operated by 1 controller. So they're dealing within 1 minute with 2 departures and 2 arrivals, because they're closely spaced arrivals in good visibility conditions. He's able to do this, not for the whole day, so after 1 hour or 2 hours, there's a shift break, of course, and he goes out because he was quite busy at this time, but he can do it. Multiple needs new procedure. Okay, we had a workshop and we asked the pilots from all the simulations. There were emergency situations, there were runway changes, there were equipment failures. How did you deal with it? The same as we do today. Yeah? They apply the procedures they have. They have backup procedures, they have redundant procedures. If equipment fails, they go to a procedure control. In the end, they just need a mic and a pencil. That's what they even do today. Multiple only works with additional ground surveillance. So in our setting we had with Budapest, with the Hungarian controller, Budapest has an ASMGCS equipage status. So you can see, you can put the labels into the panorama view. So this would be also done in the future because ASMGCS is already there. ASMGCS is a very nice concept, so I was heavily involved developing ASMGCS, and it really helps you in complex traffic situations. You can put additional safety nets, you can put planning features, clearance conformance monitoring, so it really helps in complex situations. And of course they like it, the controller. If you don't have this equipage, perhaps you have to decrease your service level or your amount of traffic you can handle, but you can do it. As long as safety is not compromised, you can adapt the situation with the equipage and the service level. You have a lot of turntables where you can find the right solution. Same as you do it today. There are towers without ASMGCS, but they can probably not provide the service level like a tower in London or Frankfurt or whatever. So it's just adapting to the complexity you experience. And one of the fourth myth is ATCOs do not like working multiple. And for this I have one picture. Look at this controller. So this is a Hungarian test controllers when he performed an emergency scenario at 3 airports, and that was the first reaction of it. So actually he liked it. So now the real story is I asked him, do you like the German beer? No, it was really an emergency situation. And this is our remote tower platform from the project, www.remote-tower.eu. I show you this because soon we have all the results there published. Furthermore, there are some news about open days. There are 3 more open days where you can go directly to the validation sites, can talk to controller, can see the validation setup and so on. There's one in Sweden, one in Langen with the DFS, and the third one end of April in Budapest. They have a real field platform installation. So try to get in there because there are limited places, of course, and all these open days are referred on this website. And in the end, let me give the message, but I don't know if there are ANSPs among us, don't be scared. Try it, get in touch with it, come to us, come to our booth, find more out of this concept. It helps. It can solve a lot of things ATC suffers from today. It's not rocket science. It helps you. And be prepared for the future. It will come definitely. That's the future. Thank you for this. Questions? First question. Do we have a mic? No, huh?
Were there any test points for the weather conditions?
Will you come to here?
Sorry, were there any test points where the weather conditions varied considerably at each airport that provided a different sort of workload challenge for the controllers?
Yeah. As I said in the beginning, this research didn't start from scratch. So these things had already been tested with SESAR 1, where the focus was more on the optical sensors to translate the video to the visual presentation, to the panorama. And there I tested, of course, different weather conditions. So this has mainly been solved. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. We just take this solution, threefold it in a multiple setting, then we have it. So weather, also in the end, from an operational perspective, it's just another brick of complexity. Of course, if you have bad weather, then you have not. VFR traffic will be decreased. Then you have less effort. So all the things as is today. In the end, you have to apply low visibility procedure. And if it's too complex for a controller, he can say, okay, I need a another additional controller to solve the situation, or I give an airport back. So the opportunities the controller has to react on some unpredicted things are much better than it's today. Nothing new. Yeah, you have a mic. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say you've been very lucky. You found really exceptional air traffic controllers. I don't know a single air traffic controller who likes to deal with conflict. It's like saying that pilots like to have emergencies. So we are prepared to deal with conflict, but it's not how we like it. And I see a danger there. I mean, you were saying, as a good example, when someone stood up after control and in San Francisco, and they get up shaken because of the hard work they've been doing. Sorry, that's not safe. The way forward is not, let's do like this guy.
Yeah,
way forward is like, this guy's been shaking, so I don't think he should be doing this anymore. Let's play the runway. Sorry about that, I don't agree with the concept.
Okay, then I did not convince you. Of course, shaking was overstating the situation, just making a picture that this controller is much more busy than a controller dealing with nothing where you have a shift break after 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours. This is decided by the ANSP. So of course this controller is not shaking, but he has a traffic peak, and after longer than 1 hour it's, yeah. Then you have to ask the FAA, because we are not responsible for the San Francisco controller. And what your second question was? Sorry? Conflict, yeah. Of course they do not like conflict in this way that they curse conflict by themselves, but they were happy to solve conflicts. They could solve it with this settings, as they do it today. You're happy if you have solved the conflict. Conflict is not even safety critical, but the conflict is even if you have 2 aircraft. Yeah? And if you managed it in a safe way, all have survived, you're lucky. You're happy. Yeah? That was I was saying.
Thomas Robinson, Norwegian Ethical. The claim was that it was safe in the validation, but is it my understanding is correct that the ATCO self-assessed its own performance in regards to safety, and did no observers also rate the safety aspect of the performance?
The graph you said was at the last simulation where the controller self-assessed it. The simulation we did before with the same controllers, there was always a colleague ATCO standing behind him and judging in the end about the performance of his colleague ATCO. And both were not safety critical. So
okay,
either
so the conclusion from both the observer and the ATCO working was that it was safe in the particular validation.
One more. Good. If you're more interested in this concept, come to our booth. It's the 81 booth over there. We have a multiple remote tower setting installation there, and then we can perhaps get into a chat and can discuss further things. Thank you very much for being here.